Hello, world. This is the Know Your Place podcast, and this is episode 57. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about different regional American holidays, regional ethnic American holidays, and sort of how they are celebrated across the United States. And I hit upon this topic because today, as I'm recording this, is St. Patrick's Day, but this is sort of a time loaded with these kinds of holidays. Just previously to this was of course Mardi Gras, and it's primarily celebrated, of course, in New Orleans. But there's a certain association with the French people in America that celebrate it. And it's a big deal. And they kind of celebrate around here too. Anywhere you find some Cajuns, you'll find a Mardi Gras celebration. You'll, of course, have to eat a bunch of food and get some king pie and all, king cake and all this other good stuff. So, and dress in crazy outfits and wear, it's all kinds, and listen to music. And then, of course, coming up later in a month or so, in a couple months or so, is Cinco de Mayo, and there's all kinds. I'm also going to talk about all the various Oktoberfest celebrations that are cropping up across America, and Columbus Day and Jefferson Davis's birthday. Okay, so when we talk about St. Patrick's Day, um, it's kind of a funny thing because it's supposed to be a celebration of Irish culture, and basically, from what I understand of all the stuff I've been listening to about Irish history and reading about it, it's actually more celebrated in America than it is in Ireland. Um, it's like an American holiday almost because so many Irish people immigrated here in the 1800s and started celebrating it. And Ireland's actually, it's really funny. I listen to RTE sometimes, and basically they said that they feel the pressure that they have to celebrate it now because America celebrates it so much. Um, Traditionally, Americans we really just use it as an excuse to party real wild and get real drunk. But there is a sort of thing that goes along with it. A lot of people I know play protest music, almost IRA music, and there's a certain special kind of kinship I believe a lot of Americans feel with the Republic's struggle, which I know makes a lot of our UK friends uncomfortable, and I don't really know what to say about that. Irish is a big culture here, so they really do embrace it, and they embrace being part of the American tradition. And of course, we also eat lots of corned beef cabbage, and they just we love to listen to the music. I think like my wife really loves the music. We're not so necessarily big on just going and getting wild and loaded or anything, but we love listening to music. Neither one of us really has that much Irish heritage. I have like one Irish ancestor. I think she has a couple, but it's just something fun to do and wear green and celebrate a group of people who got their independence, and I know that again, I understand that makes people in the UK very uncomfortable, but I can't help it. It's just part of American culture now. We have really embraced being part of the Irish culture. So yeah, that's St. Patrick's Day for you, and it's celebrated all over America. You can't escape it. I mean, like you just see stuff building up. Like people advertise the celebration at usually an Irish pub or bar around the corner from you, and they'll celebrate leading. They'll put run ad like they'll pay money to run ads on the radio 2 or 3 weeks out. That's how intense it is. It's like, wow, you are really trying to get people to come to this thing. So anyway, yeah, that's sort of what St. Patrick's Day is about. Now, of course, I love Mardi Gras, and I love it mainly because of the New Orleans culture, and I love the music associated with it, and of course, I love jambalaya and I love Cajun people. But the thing that's really interesting about Mardi Gras is it is kind of confined to that culture, but it's sort of expanding now again, and um, you know while it is associated with a party like St. Patrick's Day, there's sort of a more of a sophistication to it, or a class. They have that big parade in New Orleans, and they just wear these really wild costumes, and it's really out of control almost. And if you I watched a great documentary called American Experience New Orleans, and it went into a lot of the details of how some of this stuff came about. And basically, a lot of the origins of the Mardi Gras celebrations in New Orleans are almost a counterculture or an independent spirit. And that's what I think the main theme of some of these things are, sort of like these ethnic groups developing their own American spirit, because we're sort of known as an individualistic society with our own spirit, but you see that on display a lot in these holidays. Certain groups of people are like, this is our thing. We're celebrating it this, and you know, we're going to do it despite the fact there was a bunch of normal people who were like, no, you shouldn't celebrate it this way. So then of course, in May is Cinco de Mayo, and I tell you, uh, I absolutely, it's kind of difficult for me because I live in Kentucky, and the Kentucky Derby usually resides right around Cinco de Mayo, and that's like a regional holiday to us in Kentucky because, of course, it's the big horse race that's been going on for over 100 years, and everybody celebrates that. But Cinco de Mayo is really a great thing. And I know some people are offended of the way it's been supposedly Americanized, just like some Irish people are offended at the way St. Patrick's Day has become Americanized. But it's just a great thing to see people in America embrace part of Mexican culture. I love Mexican food, and I love the Mexican people. I really wish the government would straighten itself out and become better. I feel so sad for them. I really do, because I would love to just have a relationship with them. Well, we do have a good relationship with Mexico. I mean, they're like our brothers, but have a same sort of standard of living or quality of life for both of us, that we're almost interchangeable countries. I really have no ill will towards Mexico. It really saddens me to see some of the problems that happen in Mexico. Because again, I love Mexican food. I love the culture. I mean, I love going around and hearing a mariachi band. I love Dos Equis. You know, I love all the different cheesy, beefy foods. It's great. I love Mexican culture, and it's they have such a fighting spirit, and it's just terrible to see some of the things that happen in their country sometimes. It's really terrible. So yeah, that's those are some gonna that are on my brain because they're about to happen or have happened. But another very ethnic thing that's being celebrated a lot more in the United States is Oktoberfest. And of course, again, this is known as a big party in Germany, in Munich, the Hofbräuhaus, and this it was originally to celebrate a wedding of a Bavarian king, but it's taken on a whole new form. And uh, what's very interesting, again, to me, as somebody who is German American by descent, and I covered this in some of my German episode, is seeing like people who aren't German, because to me, like, it's only become a very recent thing that being German American was cool. Like, it was so uncool back in my grandfather's day in World War II, for obvious reasons, that he went by the nickname of Dick. His name was Richard, but Richard Altendorf, and he went by the name of Dick. He did not want people knowing he was German. He would have rolled around playing accordion music, drinking, and wearing lederhosen. I mean, that's just not what he would have done. And to roll around and see all these people in America doing it now, and seeing my friends be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to this Oktoberfest party," seeing like my Irish friend do this, or my half Mexican friend do this, it's crazy. It's like, wow, this is really different, but cool. I'm glad that it's okay to be German now. That's a big monkey off my back. So, but yeah, they're very interesting, sort of regional ethnic holidays. Now, one that's been sort of not so celebrated lately is Columbus Day, and for some reason, uh, obviously some people took offense to the legacy of Columbus. I'm not really going to spend too much time getting into that on this episode. I feel I understand both arguments, but I don't see why you should have to get rid of Columbus Day celebrations as long as some people do celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Um, and I don't understand why Indigenous Peoples Day has to be celebrated as a counter to Columbus Day in particular when it could be any numerous types of holidays in our country. But I'll get off my soapbox about that. So yeah, there's Indigenous Peoples Day now, and yes, the Native Americans do deserve to have a day that's sort of celebrating our culture. I do love Native American culture too. In Wisconsin, there is this tribe called the Oneida tribe. There's lots of tribes in Wisconsin, but the Oneida tribe is very successful. They have quite a large amount of land and very profitable businesses, and uh, only a quarter of their people live in poverty, which is very low for a Native American tribe. And they're very interesting people. I very much respect the Oneida. I think their culture museum is very cool, and I think all the stuff they do is very cool. And I hope their culture continues to survive for a very long time. And I understand they're originally out of New York, but the Oneida tribe in Wisconsin is very, very powerful and very cool tribe. Um, as for Columbus Day, despite the fact Columbus really was paid for by the Spanish government to be an explorer, Italian Americans for generations have really celebrated the legacy of Columbus. They feel like he was a great discoverer of the New World, and they want to see his memory be one of an Italian heritage and a connection to modern day Italian Americans. And I don't really have a problem with that. I understand some people do, again, with the Indigenous Peoples Day thing, but I just say, why can't we celebrate both things? Why can't we celebrate some of the achievements of Columbus while acknowledging some of the shortcomings of Columbus? And why can't we celebrate the Indigenous peoples as well? Yeah. So, and then another one that sort of is an interesting quirk is Thanksgiving, because before it became known to me as a day about football and food, it was originally about the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. And I think though that legacy is starting to pass a long time gone now, there you can see in New England and sort of how it reverberates throughout the rest of America is sort of being a part of our English heritage, or sort of the people who left England, part of the culture, the ones seeking religious freedom from the Church of England. That's you do see a bit of connection there. It may not be quite as strong as St. Patrick's Day, but it's also there is some connection there. I mean, I haven't been to a Thanksgiving dinner where people don't pray and say everything that they're thankful for and talk about how they're thankful for religious freedom in America. And I think that you can't remove the two. So and then the last one was one I wasn't really totally aware of, but there are people even in Kentucky and in other states that celebrate Jefferson Davis's birthday. And this is really a weird quirk. I mean, absolutely, I guess if you're hanging on to Confederate or Southern heritage, you like Jefferson Davis. I guess you see him as a great president, but it is kind of weird. I mean, it's not like they're celebrating Robert E. Lee. I would think that would be a bigger holiday to celebrate, but they do celebrate it. There's like even stores and businesses that close down for this, and that's very interesting. It's an interesting quirk, and I guess it's part of Southern heritage. So, yeah, those are the sort of the regional ethnic holidays I think of when I think of American ones. Feel free to let me know in the comment section if you have any sort of other ones you think about, and thanks for listening. Peace.